to a special edition of the Darden Admissions Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. So this episode is all about the MS in Business Analytics program. That's the MSBA here at the University of Virginia. As you may know, the MSBA is actually a partner program between the Darden School of Business and the McIntire School of Commerce here at the university, and the program launched in 2017. Now that we're about 5 years in with the MSBA program, we thought it'd be a great opportunity to look back what's been accomplished over these past 5 years, but also to look ahead what's to come as we recruit the sixth cohort of MSBA students. And we could think of no better person to invite on the podcast to do this with than Trey Maxham. Trey is a member of the faculty at the McIntire School of Commerce, and he is also one of the directors for the MS in Business Analytics program. So without further ado, here's my interview with Trey Maxham. Trey, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here. How are you doing? How's everything?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks so much for asking. We're off to an exciting semester and off to a new great start with our MSBA program. And we're excited to have them come down here in about a week for their first Charlottesville residency.
That's awesome. It was exciting to be there with them in Roslyn when they kicked off the program in August. And, you know, that second residency in Charlottesville, I imagine that's always a special time to have the students there on grounds.
It is a special time. That's exactly right. And I feel like they become connected, truly connected to the university when they come to Charlottesville. But we recreate the special nature of the University of Virginia up in Roslyn as well, as you all know. And so I feel like we had a fantastic start up in Roslyn, and the students have been enjoying classes and learning a lot. And the first module will culminate with their residency in Charlottesville with some project presentations, and it should be an exciting time.
I think this project is a stock pitch. Is that right?
That's exactly right. For UVMCO, which is the university's endowment investment company, as you all know. And each team has a technology company, a publicly traded technology company that they've been analyzing since the beginning of the program, analyzing all facets of the organization across the enterprise, marketing, management, finance, accounting, IT, consumers. So they're analyzing all of that to help inform them to make a good decision on whether to invest or not to invest.
And how do you pick the companies?
Well, we pick the companies that are generally a company that is relatively easy to understand from a financial standpoint, whereas some companies have so many subsidiaries or business units that it sometimes becomes challenging. But we also try to choose companies that are exciting for our students to explore. So those are kind of the two main reasons. And then we try to choose companies that have a consumer-facing business so that our students can analyze that part of the organization and try to unveil consumer insights and product insights and geographical market insights.
Well, that's great. I appreciate your shedding a little light on Module 1 and the team project. And it's great to have you here on the podcast to talk a little bit more about the MS in Business Analytics program. We don't always get to feature it on our Darden Admissions podcast, but now that we have officially 5 cohorts for the program, the class that just started in August is cohort 5. And of course, we've started working on the 6th cohort for the MSBA program. We thought this would be a great opportunity to both look back on the past 5 years and how the program's evolved over this time period, and also maybe look ahead a little bit. One of the great things about this program, at least my impression, Trey, from talking with the faculty, is that it's constantly evolving, and the tools and the topics, trying to stay close to industry and cutting edge practice out there. So tell us a little bit more about you and your role.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Thanks for asking. So I'm a professor in the McIntire School of Commerce. I sit in the marketing area, and my focus really is on marketing and customer analytics. So those are the types of classes that I teach at the university. And I'm also involved and have been involved for many years with our global immersion programs, mostly in Southeast Asia and China. So I'm excited. In January, I'll be offering one of those classes in Thailand and Vietnam. So that's a little bit about what I'm up to on the teaching front. And then on the research front, I study customer experiences and the factors that shape customer experiences, either positively or negatively. So we collect a lot of data from companies and try to find the factors that drive loyalty.
And how did you get to UVA?
Well, maybe similar to many professors here, I traveled around the United States and interviewed with many great universities. And it's one of those stories where that people talk about, which it was love at first sight. When I got off the plane, actually before I got off the plane, coming in, it was a fall day and the leaves were changing and it was a beautiful day and I had a wonderful visit. And it really just highlighted kind of as we started with, this special nature of the University of Virginia. And that was over 23 years ago. So, and I haven't looked back one time. This has been a wonderful experience for me. We have just amazing students. I learned so much from my students. I might even learn more from them than they learned from me. So they're wonderful people to work with. The faculty is caring and supportive and dedicated to excellence. Our staff is just remarkable. And I got to meet friends from around the university. And so I've learned a lot about the other schools at the university. So it's just it's a unique place for me, and it's an important part of my life.
Well, always nice to set the scene and learn a little bit more about our guests. And the MSBA program, the MS in Business Analytics program, is a unique program at the university in that is a partnership between the McIntire School of Commerce and the Darden Graduate School of Business. Talk to us a little bit more about the inspiration for this program. What was the idea behind launching the MSBA?
Yeah, it's a great question. So at the time, there was a lot written in the news and by organizations like the Northern Virginia Technology Council, who put together a thorough report that essentially highlighted a massive jobs gap in kind of the DC region that was branding itself as the nation's data capital. So what I mean by that is that there was a lot of demand for positions that involved analytics and not nearly enough qualified candidates to take those jobs. And so I took that information as a call to action to help not only our two schools, and not only the University of Virginia, but also the Commonwealth of Virginia and neighboring states to help bridge that gap so that we could start educating students with the tools and techniques that can help close this gap and create opportunities for them, both personally and professionally. So that was the inspiration. And we started off with a small group of us that both from the Darden side and from the McIntire School side. And from the first meeting until the meeting I had yesterday, all along the way, it's been nothing but positive experiences. Meaning both faculties, staffs came together and we became part of like the MSBA program collectively. And so it's really been, great to see. It certainly makes me very proud of what we've accomplished. And it's also, I think, a shining example for the University of Virginia on how two schools can come together and create something that is market-driven and something that takes advantage of the best of both schools.
Trey, I know you talk with a lot of students, and as you noted, you've been at the university for a while. When someone asks you, a prospective student, for example, asks you what the MSBA program is all about, how do you explain the program to them?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we built this program is curated specifically for the students that are enrolled in the program. So that's the first thing, meaning that students in this program do not take some classes over at Darden and take some classes over at the McIntire School and collect them together and earn a degree. In this program, every single class is built for the MS in Business Analytics students by both faculties together. And in fact, many classes have faculty from both schools teaching. And so that's really the kind of the mindset behind the program. In terms of what we teach, importantly, the first thing we did was we went out and we consulted with our corporate partners. So these are a lot of leading companies around not only the DC region, but also around the country and around the world. And we brought them physically into a room and we had meetings with them asking very simple questions about like, what kinds of skills do your employees need? What types of tools and techniques do they need to accomplish their job? And what topics should we be teaching in a program like this? And so I think when we started the program, because everyone that was at the table were technically minded, we were, as I recall, a little bit farther down the technical side in terms of our mindset and developing it. And our corporate partners quickly brought us back to what we think now is the center between business acumen and analytical tools and technique. So we built this program to be squarely at the nexus of those two important topics, so that we teach not only how to leverage analytics to accomplish important things, but then we also teach our students how to think about meaningful business problems. How can we scope out those problems? And then how can we build research projects with impact for the business? So it's not just the tools and techniques that we teach them with analytics, but it's also the business acumen side, so they know what to do with these insights once they get them and how to communicate these insights to various stakeholders across the organization.
I appreciate your point around communication. Had a chance to talk with some of the faculty involved with the program, and to a person, they almost all seem to return to this idea about communication and how leadership and communication, what are thought of as sometimes softer skills, they're equally represented here in the program design. And I don't know if that's always on prospective students' minds when they're thinking about an analytics program.
I think you're exactly right. So data storytelling is an important skill, and creating a narrative that resonates with managers. I think that's incredibly important, because we can have the most sophisticated modeling possible, but if we can't communicate what we've found and how we found it successfully to our key stakeholders, then the ideas are not going to go very far. So we work quite hard on both ends of the spectrum, and we work hard in the middle to teach students not only how to do the analytics, but also how to communicate the findings in meaningful ways to the key stakeholders.
Well, maybe a little bit of an unfair question for you here, Trey, but as I mentioned, we're recruiting the 6th cohort of students for the MSBA program. Just launched the application, first deadline on the horizon in October. When you look back on, say, the past 4 or 5 years in the program, how has it evolved since its launch?
Well, I mean, I think that it's in terms of the core values of the program, they've stayed exactly the same. But as you mentioned at the start, some of the tools and techniques have come in and out as our corporate partners and our students have provided feedback that have, helped us to kind of pivot. And the great thing about this program is that we're fairly nimble. So we pivot quite quickly. And we use the feedback that we get from our students after every module, and we use the feedback from our faculty and staff after every module, and we make changes immediately for the next year in that module. So we pay very close attention to what our students, faculty, and the marketplace is telling us, and we're able to pivot on topics, or maybe it's emphasizing more of one topic, or maybe teaching less of a topic that may be less important today than it was 4 years ago, or something like that. So we do pay careful attention to the feedback, because we want to make sure that we're teaching our students in this class the exact tools and techniques that they need to get their job, or to after graduating, or to excel in their current job. So we definitely change the topics as we move forward. In terms of the student body, I think it's been pretty similar over the past 5 years. We have been so lucky. You mentioned the admissions team. Our admissions team just does a wonderful job of identifying successful candidates, and our students come into the program from day one, from cohort 1 until today, and they just have this dedication to learning, this passion for learning, this passion for networking with each other. And they come in right away with this mindset of building a cohesive cohort. So already, even just a few weeks into the program, this cohort is quite close. And that also makes me very happy, because we work very hard. We think that's a special element of this program, that students learn not only from their professors in the classroom, but they also learn a lot from their classmates. Not just during the program, but after the program. It made me very happy that the cohorts still get together after they've graduated 3 or 4 years ago. And they call me quite frequently and tell me that they've gone to dinner, or they've planned a reunion. And so this is a program that doesn't just resonate with students for 1 year, but I think it resonates with students for the rest of their career. And we're seeing that play out every day.
Question for you about how the faculty keep current on what's the latest and greatest in an industry, because it feels like that's constantly changing, and oftentimes changing rapidly.
It is, exactly. Well, so thankfully, again, back to my point about, we're lucky at both the Darden School and the McIntire School to have highly qualified professors who are experts in these topics. And not only are they experts in the quantitative skills and the technology that drive these skills, but they also are highly connected in the marketplace with organizations who leverage analytics to accomplish their goals. And so, and they work with these companies in their own scholarly research. So they're really at the pulse of what's happening in the forefront of analytics, because of their deep connections with these companies and the leaders in these organizations who do this type of work. And so again, we have all these conversations on an ongoing basis about what are the leading trends, what are the new techniques that are emerging, what are the new tools that are coming on board, the new technology. And so that helps inform us for what we do. So I really think it comes down to people. We're lucky to have the best and brightest people in the world of analytics working in this program, and actually many of the faculty members came to the University of Virginia because they wanted to be a part of this program. So it was a great fit for them. They came in passionate about this MS in Business Analytics program, and they've excelled because of that passion.
One of the things that has been a consistent part of the program design is the fact that at the end of each module, there's a deliverable, and you're working with the team on that deliverable, and typically a presentation that goes along with all of this. And how did the faculty arrive on this team-based, project-based learning approach?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that is certainly one element that has been fundamental at the McIntire School of Commerce, and you'll find that type of curriculum structure in every program that we offer. So I think we came to the table with that's the only reference that we know, because that's what we do so much at this school. And our thankfully our colleagues at Darden, they were really excited about this type of learning. And of course, the Darden School is passionate about the learning team models as well. And so it was just a great fit. I think that this is just another great example of how the two schools came to this with a very similar mindset and a very similar pathway for success. And so, so these projects, as you mentioned, are trying to, we have 5 projects, 1 in each module, all team-based. And so they accomplish a lot for our students. Number one, it gives them a chance to focus on a particular industry, and it gives them a chance to focus on a specific world of analytics. Each one is different along the way, so that they can kind of start to develop a mindset for how do we develop a meaningful project, and how do we leverage the appropriate tools and techniques to solve that problem. And then they do it again in the next module, and then the next, all the way through. And then in the 5th module, they get an opportunity to create their own capstone project where they identify a client. So they develop a proposal, they approach clients, potential clients, and they come together as a team to decide which company would be the best way to kind of hone their skills, but also the best project that could have the most impact for the company. And that's an important element of that final project, is business impact. So we're quite proud of the projects that we've had in the past that have helped companies, both big and small, nonprofits to publicly traded companies, a lot of different sectors. And it's been just fantastic to see the type of meaningful work that our students can do. And I think it helps them, as they're ending the program, to feel confident in what they've learned along the way.
You mentioned the diversity of exposure, just reflecting upon the projects that I've heard about in recent years. We talked about the stock pitch project that is corresponding to Module 1 here for these students, and looking at tech companies. And then historically, I think Module 2 is focused on maybe mortgage related data. Module 3 is historically culminated in a project focused on Hilton related data, actually employee data around satisfaction surveys, that kind of data. And then Module 4, I think, has typically been some kind of healthcare related work, and Module 5 with the capstone project, which of course is sourced from that work is sourced from the cohort. I mean, it's a lot of diversity. It's a broad exposure. How do you decide these are the areas where we'd like to spend some time?
Well, that's a great question. A lot of it is driven by, our student interests and the types of sectors that they are attracted to, what types of work they would like to do, and what type of work they're doing now. And so we listen carefully to our students, and they help us to design these projects that'll be the most valuable projects for them, and help them as they accomplish their own goals. So we think that we're also, I guess, so it's student centric, but it's also market centric in terms of in all those areas you mentioned. There's a lot of innovation going on in analytics, and analytics is being used importantly to answer key questions in those areas. So I think that they're great representations of what's going on more broadly in the world of analytics. So I think it's an opportunity for them to see kind of the latest trends that are happening in these arenas that are at the forefront of the new world of analytics.
Well, you mentioned the first weekend residency that students have in Charlottesville, which is actually, interestingly enough, the second weekend residency in the program. at the very end of the program, there's another opportunity for students to come to Charlottesville that coincides with the end of program celebration. I had a chance to join the most recent graduating class down in Charlottesville for that Saturday. And it was great to be there with the students and to hear their reflections on the program and what they'd gotten out of the program. To a person, to your earlier comment about relationships in the cohort feel of the program and the real intentional design around the culture and building those connections. Everybody mentioned that. The other thing that students talk a lot about is the program is very generalist in orientation, and exposing students to a lot of different things. Is that intentional as well, from a tools, techniques, topics, just to kind of say, here are the things that are happening out here in this world, a very broad orientation?
Yes, that's a great question. So again, in consultation with our corporate partners and our students in their work, we identify, the tools and topics that are top of mind for business analytics leaders. And again, as I mentioned before, those change year to year, but we want to make sure that we're teaching students the tools that companies need today and tomorrow to be able to solve their problems. And so it's just critical for us to stay on top of what are the leading types of analytical tools that are being used. And so, yeah, absolutely. So we can't teach everything in one program, but we try our very best to give them kind of a broad look and analysis in the leading tools and techniques that companies are using and find the most valuable. And we do that every single year. Because again, back to the inspiration of the program, our real goal is, well, maybe twofold. Is one is to help close that gap between this jobs gap that's out there. So we're preparing more people properly to do these types of jobs. And then second, we're that equally important is we're trying to help our students accomplish their goals, not our goals, but their goals, both personally and professionally. And we think this program definitely does that. I
want to talk a little bit more about the structure and design of the MSBA program. It is a 12-month program. There's consistent in-person engagement in this program. So you have, over this 12-month program, you have 10 weekend residencies that are occurring on average, one weekend a month. There's 8 in Roslyn. There's 2 that are down in Charlottesville. The 8 in Roslyn are a Saturday and Sunday affair. When you're in Charlottesville, it's a little bit longer of a residency. It's a 4-day residency. There's also live synchronous classes, typically a couple of nights per week in the evenings. And there's also self-paced content that students will watch to also develop the content. But a third of the content in this program is delivered in person across these regular weekend residencies. Trey, when you think about the culture of the program, how does this consistent in-person interaction inform this culture?
Yeah, I think that the in-person residencies are just such a valuable way for students to come together and share ideas and share experiences about how these topics are playing out in their daily roles, and share experiences about different projects that they're working on in their own companies, and also share experiences about their aspirations, about maybe many of them are seeking new roles because they've learned these new skills. And so it really is a special time for them, and they take it very seriously. I mean, they are so happy to see each other in person. And again, those are on Saturdays and Sundays, as you mentioned. And so those days, so like Saturday, will go from 8 a.m. Actually, the breakfast starts at 7 a.m. and then classes start at 8 typically. And then there's a lunch. Sometimes during lunch we have some guest speaker or some important new trend or event that's going on in analytics. And then we always have like a closing sort of dinner type of event, or kind of a reception. And then the students take it upon themselves. We have a student activities council that develops other events outside. So they'll get together and do various events, fun things for them. They've gone on cruises down the Potomac. They've met at restaurants. They've met to play certain games. They do a lot of things on their own, and actually a lot of faculty and staff go with them on those optional events. So anyway, it's just a fun-filled, but also a quality time for them to learn from each other and also spend time with the faculty and staff. So it really is a community feel. And so those are definitely special times. You know, one thing about you mentioned the Zoom classes. And, you know, when we started this program, I know for me, it was adamant that we make this as flexible as possible. So we started out talking about this program that students might miss 25 days of work. And I kept saying that, no, we can't miss 25 days of work. And I kept pushing on this point. So finally, we got to the point where we miss only 4 days of work throughout the whole year. And those, as you mentioned, are the two four-day residencies in Charlottesville. And that was something that I could live with. And I'm actually so happy that we built those two, because I do think that those are 4 days that are well spent here in Charlottesville. So I'm glad that we have those two 4-day residencies. But in between, as you mentioned, we do have Zoom classes from 7 o'clock to 8:15 every Tuesday and Thursday. And you know, when we built the program, we did not know, because both schools were just were interested in maintaining the rich cohort cohesive environment that we have in our other programs, and we wanted to make sure we had that in our MS and Business Analytics program. And but to your point, we have some of these classes online to make it flexible for students. And there was some initial wonder about what's going to happen. How will they become a cohesive cohort if they're spending so many Tuesdays and Thursdays on Zoom? Well, what we did not understand is that we as faculty and staff do not need to create 100% of those opportunities for students to network. What we learned quickly in cohort 1 was that they take it upon themselves to meet on weekends, during the week. They get together for lunch, breakfast, dinner, as teams, but also across teams. And so that was the first thing that made me so happy is how close the first cohort got within by the time actually they came down to Charlottesville for the first residency, they were already a tight-knit group. And it was because they took it upon themselves to meet in and around the DC area and elsewhere. They go on weekend trips together. So it's been fun to see.
Yeah, I can say from our executive MBA students' experience, and also I would say for our part-time MBA students here at Darden, I think a lot of students typically, as they start down this path, have the most questions about what the online classes will be like. Because when people think about school, they're probably most often thinking about that in person, in the classroom, physically located together experience. But the online class, because it's a live class and you're all there and you're having a discussion and the faculty is there with you, it helps build that community and that sense of connection and that sort of regularly seeing people and checking in. And of course, as you mentioned, all the other connections that are happening around the actual content delivery of the program. I mean, the people that choose this program, I don't know if you'd choose this program if you weren't curious about the other people in the classroom, just given the structure and design, the fact that this is participatory learning. It's case discussions. It's, learning from the other people in the room.
That's exactly right. And every student is in the program for a reason, because of, their life experiences, both personally and professionally. And so they have a responsibility to their classmates to bring their insights and perspectives to the classroom. And they do that every single Zoom class. And the thing that I enjoy about those Zoom classes is it doesn't feel like what you might feel as a Zoom class. It feels like they're in the same classroom together because of this community feel that, and there's a lot of participation, and they feel comfortable participating in those classes. And so we get just as much participation in a Zoom class as we do in an in-person class, which is great to see. I think it is important for this program that we built that initial residency in Roslyn so that they got to know each other in person, not only their classmates, but they got to know their faculty in person during that important weekend. And so I think that weekend sets the stage for the Zoom class that happens a few days later, so that they come into that first class feeling very much at ease and excited to participate. So it's been a wonderful mix of experiences. And then you also mentioned the what we call the asynchronous self-paced material, that where professors will develop material that the students can view before class as preparation, or really a lot of the asynchronous material has to do with some how-to videos on different tools and techniques, which is wonderful for the students. This is another idea that we didn't really fully appreciate when we built the program, but now I fully appreciate it, because it allows students to go back and review the material time and time again, as opposed to maybe missing something along the way. But for that matter, actually, all of our sessions are recorded, so students can go back to any session and watch it again and again to make sure that they get the concepts.
I want to take a few minutes just to talk about who's in the classroom. One of the great things, as you mentioned, about the MSBA program is its flexibility, and it's designed intentionally to minimize students' time away from work and their lives. And there was a lot of thought and intention put into the design of the program. Students come from all over to do this program. Of course, many students are from DC, Maryland, Virginia. I think last time we looked, it's typically around 75, maybe 80% of the class is from DC, Maryland, Virginia. But that means another 20 or so percent are traveling from further afield. And we see folks from the Northeast and the Southeast and even out West. And so the other thing that's also jumped out to me about the cohort is that it's a pretty wide range of experience. You have folks who may have 2 or 3 years of work experience, but you also have people in the classroom that have 15, 20 plus years of work experience. What's it like to teach a classroom where you have that kind of diversity?
Right, that's an excellent point. I'm so glad that you raised it. I think that's one of the special elements of this program. Certainly something that I cherish as part of my time with the program. And what students tell us, and have told me time and time again, is that the younger students in the class benefit from all the experiences of the more I guess seasoned students that are in the class that have the 20 years or more of experience. But also importantly, the students with the 20 years experience also benefit greatly from the enthusiasm and excitement and fresh perspectives from these younger classmates. And so it really creates this wonderful setting that contributes so much value to the program, because they learn so much from each other across that spectrum of experience that you mentioned. So I think that is something that we did not, or I maybe did not appreciate when we went into this, but it certainly has been wonderful to see along the way.
The other thing that's true about this group of students is that you have a lot of different academic backgrounds, and you have some students who have no prior exposure to the tools and techniques that they're going to learn during the program. And you have other students that have very deep experience with these tools and techniques. And so common question that we will get from prospective students is, do I have the right background, either academically or professionally, for this program? And it's great to have you here on the podcast and ask you directly, what would you say to those students who asked that particular question?
Yeah, I would say that the most important factor for success in this program is really just a passion for learning about analytics within a business context. And I think that's what these students come to the program with. And as you mentioned, we do have students who have never seen these tools and techniques before, and we have some students who use them every day in their job. And what that creates that I really enjoy is that it creates an opportunity for students to take a leadership role in the program. And so from the very beginning, starting when we were in Roslyn and kicked off the program, we had students raising their hand, and we encouraged them to do this, to say, hey, I use this tool or technique in my job, so I'm happy to be kind of the leader to help people, or the tutor, if you will, in the class. And they enjoy that so much because it just gives them a chance to contribute something or give something back to the program. And it also is valuable for the students who are new to these tools and techniques, because then they can lean on each other. And so maybe the person who's the expert on machine learning is not the expert on predictive analytics, but there's going to be somebody else who's an expert on that. And so that they will always have their time to shine in the program and be a leader. And we love that about the program.
Well, last question for you here, Trey. We covered a lot of ground. We talked about the MSBA's inception and the inspiration for the program. We talked about the curriculum and the design and all the thought and intention that's gone into not only what students are learning, but also the schedule and the design and the components of the program. And of course, we talked a little bit about the cohort here and who's in the classroom. For you, when you talk to prospective students and they say, well, why should I do the MSBA program? What's your pitch for why MSBA?
Well, so I would say, number one, you have a dedicated faculty that's going to care deeply about the students in the program. So these are people who are, they're in the program because this is a top priority for them. And so it's a high touch, caring program where you don't just have access to your faculty during the residencies or during your Zoom classes, but you have access to your faculty all the time, and their faculty are so willing to work with you. And that's sincere. I mean that. That is genuine. I mean, all students have my phone number. They call me all the time. They send me texts, sometimes about the program, sometimes just about life. And I'm there for them. And I meet with students outside of class. Already for this particular class, we've already only been going for a couple of weeks. I've already hosted 3 receptions downtown at restaurants for dinners for the students who live in Charlottesville, just to come. It's optional, but if they want to just come and talk about the program or just talk about life. So those have been fun. But so first and foremost, there's a dedicated faculty for this program that cares deeply about the program. The second one is just the networking effect that happens along the way. And I can't emphasize this point enough, but the students through this program, they spend a lot of time together, both in the classroom and out of the classroom, and they become like a family. And they get to know not only their classmates, but they get to know their classmates' families and friends. And so I can't tell you how many times that I'm up there for a weekend in Roslyn, and we have some optional event, and they're bringing their friends and family to these events, which I think speaks loudly about the community feel that we have. So definitely a community feel. So those are 2 important factors. And the third one is maybe where we started off, is that this program is built by market data that changes all the time, but we change with the trends, not only year to year, but month to month and week to week and day by day. We're always getting new information. And, to some of our earlier descriptions of the modules. So right now we're in module 1. We think we know what module 4 might look like. But if we get new information about some new development in analytics, that will change. If we think that it's important to make a change either with a tool or technique or a project setting, we will do it if we think it's the best thing for our students. And so I think that students can come to the program knowing that there's a dedication to excellence in analytics every day of the year. And so we take that very seriously. So I think those are some things that I think are unique about the program. And then, as I mentioned before, all the classes are curated specifically for these students. which I think is quite unique actually in the space.
Well, on your community point, I was thinking about the alumni event that we had on the rooftop here in Roslyn back in, I guess, late spring. It wasn't quite summer yet, but just what a strong alumni turnout. We obviously had all the current MSBA students there because they were in residency. Very easy for them to show up. But the number of alumni who came out, I think that speaks volumes, because when people think about specialized masters, think about something that you're fitting into a very busy work and personal life, sometimes people wonder, is this going to be transactional? How will I get to know these people? How will I form meaningful relationships? And so much of this comes down to the intention of the other people in the room. And I think it's very clear, as you've noted here, that the people who choose this program are very interested in developing those relationships, and those relationships persist well beyond graduation. Yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned the alumni, because that's something that I'm working very hard on, and I believe in, is this cross-cohort collaboration. And so we will be developing a number of events over the next year for all cohorts, all 5 cohorts, to come together and learn from each other and discuss new and emerging topics in analytics, but also just network with each other across all the cohorts and kind of, build those networks and create opportunities for each other. So I'm excited about that.
Well, Trey, it's been such a pleasure catching up with you. Thank you for coming on the podcast and talking more about the MSBA program. We covered a lot of ground today.
We did. Well, it was a great pleasure. Always happy to talk about the MS in Business Analytics program. I'm so proud of what we've done so far, but I also look forward to great days ahead with the program. So I'm just so happy that I'm a small part of it.
And that was my interview with Trey Maxham, a member of the faculty at the McIntire School of Commerce here at the University of Virginia, and one of the directors of the MS in Business Analytics program. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at Darden, that's DARDEN, @virginia.edu. Until next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.